Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first race of Season 10 at the RD GTC, powered by AK Informatica, opening round at the beautiful Leicestershire venue at Donington Park. There's contact by two race leaders. Sensational. Chris Dowd doing everything he can.
Gamil, this is going to be his best chance. Wow, what a race that was.
As you can see on the screen, qualification is running down to its final moments before we head straight into the first race of the season. Still out on circuit, but currently Graham is our fastest man in the Ferrari 488 GT3 with a 1 minute 26.151. Ian Dykes in second position, less than 1/10 of a second away. Both those drivers are in pit lane now. The fastest driver on the circuit at the moment is Tariq Gamil, that we're looking at now in the 412 Ferrari. Gamil, currently in third position, needs to find 0.6 of a second in order to move himself up the order. Can he get onto the second row of the grid? Can he fight for pole position? No, he can't. He runs down pit lane. Tariq Gamil's day is done. Third position on the provisional running order. Chris Downs through the Melbourne loop for the final time, applying the throttle nice and smooth, get a maximum run out of the hairpin into the final corner. Can Chris Downs improve his qualification position from a provisional P5 at the end of qualifying for the first race of the season of the RDGT season 2021? Yes, he does. Fourth position. Chris Downs moves up, saves 0.2 of a second to the back of the second row of the grid. Round one of Season 10, powered by AK Informatica. The cars are setting off now on their part formation lap. We'll have a rolling start, as is traditional in GT3 racing, similar to what we see in the GT World Challenge and the British GT Championship as well. And this is the moment where all the practice, all the speculation, all the talking come to an end. The money is on the table. To the line for the very first time, the drivers are looking for the green light on the starting gantry to begin the RDGT Championship Season 10. A good start once again from our pole position man. Covers the inside line in the maroon Ferrari in P1. The number 64, Carroll, takes race lead. Pearson is currently in the McLaren in second position. Third place now, we've got the Aston Martin trying to take a manoeuvre. Pearson down the start, crane occurs into the whole hairpin for the first time. There's contact from our two race leaders. Again, another bit of contact there for Graham in the Ferrari. Swings across the circuit down into the whole hairpin for the first time, but that was an accident that started with Dykes and Graham making contact, running down the crane occurs into the braking zone of the old hairpin. Both drivers now severely compromised. We'll see what the timing screen washes itself out as it sorts itself out further around the lap. But the upshot of that is we've got Chris Down in the race lead. Chris Down, who just made it to the second row of the grid in the dying moments of qualifying, takes an early race lead while everybody else is trying to shuffle themselves through the Donington Park circuit. Tariq Gamil now in fourth position. Gamil making a good start, making one place up on his starting position. He's lost out to Gonzalez. So Gonzalez made a great start from outside the lower reaches of the top six. Gonzalez up into P3. Remember, Gonzalez got a good start off the line, overtook Gamil on the circuit in all the confusion and melee down at the old hairpin. So Gamil has a little bit more pace based on his qualification time, but he doesn't have track position as he chases down. Now that may all change, running into the Melbourne loop. Very aggressive defence from Gonzalez, straight to the inside for the breaking point of the hairpin. Gamil does the cut like them. The Aston Martin runs a little bit deep on corner exit. Tariq Gamil knows exactly what to expect. Got balked a little bit on the inside, so doesn't get the overlap that he wants into the final corner, but it is enough to seal the deal. Not quite enough room there, just shows his nose, lets Downs know that his car is there, that he's interested in taking this position away from Chris Downs in the AMG Mercedes. Heading through Melbourne Loop now. Downs too far away from the racing line. That leaves him vulnerable for the run down into Goddard's. Downs on the defensive. The Pearson looks up, gets the car sideways, a little bit late on the brakes, makes contact with Downs and noses into the barrier. Aaron Pearson was out of control all the way through that manoeuvre. This is the replay, this is the race for the race lead that we saw a few moments ago. So coming down into Goddard's, he's thinking about the inside, pulls out late, gets caught out by how early Chris Downs brakes. Downs can't make his car disappear, so catches, unfortunately, the back of the Aston Martin. That sends him spearing straight into the barrier. So you have to give it a try, and sadly, unfortunately for Pearson on that occasion, it did not work. Look at that now, within striking distance of Chris Down in the AMG Mercedes. The Mercedes doesn't have the pace at this stage in the race. We're heading towards what will start to become the pit window time for these drivers. We're getting towards the halfway mark in the race. The strategy will start laying down its cards for us to unravel as the course of the race progresses. If you're new to ACC, the way that you can tell if a car has run down pit lane or not is the little orange 1 marker that you see on the timing stack on the left hand side of your screen. That indicates that drivers have 1 mandatory pit stop still to take. When they have served their pit lane pit stop, that marker will go away and it will turn green, and you will know that they don't have to take another stop by employ of the regulation. So nobody been down pit road yet. The pit window has just this second opened, as you can see at the top of your screen. 10 minutes window in which they've got to make their stops. So it'll be very curious to see Tariq Gamil now losing a couple of tenths of a second in traffic to Chris Downs ahead. This will be fascinating to see what decision these two race leading drivers make with regards to pit stops. Do they shadow each other? Will we see Gamil jump down pit road a little bit earlier than his rival, make use of the additional speed he's currently got in that Ferrari to try and close the gap on the circuit, perform the undercut in effect, and then come out ahead of the Mercedes on pit strategy? We see a Porsche now entering pit lane, sees the driver of the Mercedes behind, gives him just enough space. Gamil now in the Ferrari gets by far and away the better cut of the draw of those two drivers, but not quite enough to give Gamil an opportunity, and things are really hotting up out here on the circuit. The drama continues to build as we're seeing Downs using all of the racetrack and more on the exit of the old hairpin. That's not the fastest way through the old hairpin, I'm afraid, and once again Chris Downs under significant pressure. One of these two drivers needs to pull the trigger. One of these two drivers needs to make a decision regarding whether they do or do not come down pit lane. Gamil losing the car on acceleration in the dirty air of the Mercedes ahead of him. If I was Tariq Gamil in the Scuderia Cavallino Rapante 412 Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, a lot of numbers in that one. If I was Tariq Gamil, I'd be thinking about jumping down pit road now. Downs and Gamil on pit road. Gamil gets away from his box a little bit earlier than Chris Downs. Tariq Gamil does it. Tariq Gamil on the pit stop overtakes Chris Downs on pit road. A faster stop by the Ferrari boys. For good measure, Downs has also got a bite marker that he's jostling for position with. So Chris Downs, it has all gone wrong on this pit stop. He's got the 33rd position, sister AMG Mercedes between himself and Tariq Gamil. They come out on track around the 5th, 6th position mark in terms of the running order. But more importantly than anything, Tariq Gamil is the lead car of these two. Look now. Look at the gap as visually closed between Chris Down in 2nd position and Tariq Gamil in the race lead. So Chris Down far more comfortable with his AMG Mercedes in this second stint. New tyres, bit of fuel on board as well, and the car is coming back to Chris Down in the ASP Racing AMG Mercedes. I wondered if he'd start to get left by Gamil. Gamil looked like the faster of the two cars in the opening portion of this race, but Chris Down doing a great job to stay with and close the gap to the race leading Ferrari through the traffic after the immediate end of this pit stop sequence in the RDGT Championship. Season 10 opening race here at Donington Park. So Gamil's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. So you can see through his windscreen that he needs to clear, and he needs to clear them very soon indeed. The downside for Tariq Gamil, because of the pace that he's showing so far in this race, he's starting to close up on the faster of the back marker cars. So this is critical moments, folks. Absolutely critical for Tariq Gamil. He's being cautious of these two cars. I'm sure they've not seen. They've got the race leader behind him as the Porsche feints to the inside. Chris Down now goes to the outside, not quite enough room, makes his way past the back marker as well. Gamil heading through Coppice, down the Starkey straight. He's under pressure. The Ferrari behind has his seen him for the run into the foggy S's. He goes to the inside, allows the race leaders pass. But now Tariq Gamil has won with Chris Down in second position. Down gets a good run through the foggy S's on the run into the Melbourne Loop. Tariq Gamil knows exactly what's happening, covers the inside, spots his braking zone. Down tries to do the cutback and get a better run through the Melbourne Loop. Doesn't quite have the traction in that big AMG that Tariq Gamil enjoys in the Ferrari ahead of him. But now, ladies and gentlemen, 21 minutes left on the clock. It is game on for this race lead. Ahead of him, we're looking now at a replay. So this is on board with Chris Down coming through the old airpin, up through Schwantz, into McLean. You see the back markers. Down looking one way then the other to try and find a little bit of a gap where he can square his Ferrari down. The Porsche goes wide, doesn't quite realise exactly what's happening. Downs tries to capitalise on that moment, but Tariq Gamil knows exactly what he's doing. It's nigh on impossible to overtake at Coppice. Tariq Gamil could almost taste the virtual champagne as he runs through Goddard's for the final time. Tariq Gamil from the second row of the grid does everything correctly in his Ferrari to take home the checkered flag and race victory in the opening race of the Race Department GT Championship Season 10, powered by AK Informatica. A plucky Chris Down for Mercedes crosses the line in third position. Lewis Dykes, representing McLaren, crosses the checkered flag in P3. Aaron Pearson, after a race-long battle with almost everybody on the track for Aston Martin, takes home a healthy handful of points in fourth position. Rise Nottingham takes fifth position on the circuit, but has to serve a 10-second penalty applied to his time in fifth place. The top 20 finishers in what has been an incredibly hard-fought and fraught race for the opening round of the RD GTC Season 10. Team M Sport now picks up the challenge. The number 8 Bentley, Yao Borges, fourth position. This moment in time, 0.2 of a second away from that provisional pole. Chris Down circulated as well in the AMG Mercedes. This is going to come down to the final few moments of qualification before we settle the top 6 on this grid. Fekete completed his lap. He will be 6th at the very best. Notterboom in 7th, also still on a fast lap. But let's have a look. Chris Down now in the AMG Mercedes, coming through the final section of the circuit around Murray's into the final corner. The car is very much on the absolute limit here. Spot your braking zone, keep the car nice and stable, turn in early, get on the power as early as you can. Use all that V8 Mercedes grunt down the back straight. Can Chris Down improve on 5th position across his final lap of the session? Yes, he can. Down goes third, 7 thousandths of a second away from pole position. Gamil stays 4th. Borges moves up to 4th, so Gamil down to 5th position. Our championship leader will start this race on the 3rd row of the grid. Aaron Pearson, pole position. Rory Graham, P2. Chris Down, P3. Borges in 4th, all covered by less than 0.1 of a second. Tariq Gamil in 5th place and Fekete in 6th. So Tariq Gamil, 40 points for the race victory last time out at Donington Park, leads the standings by a single point from Chris Down in the Mercedes. So Pearson, Graham, Down, Borges, Gamil, Fekete, Notterboom, Van Overen, Profalis and Tassanoy. They're in the top 10, but will they stay there at the end of the race? Everybody at home, just a reminder to you as well, keep your eye out in the chat section on Twitch. We will be giving away numerous free Race Department Premier memberships, no purchase necessary. So stay tuned for that one as the cars head off on their last little bit of the formation lap before we get the green flag on a rolling start, as is traditional in GT3 racing. Aaron Pearson will set the pace for the cars behind. He'll be dragging his brakes to get the brakes and tyre temperatures up to where they need to be for that first run down into Richards on the opening lap. Rory Graham in second position in the Ferrari on the outside of your shot. We'll be looking to get a good launch off the line. The drivers looking at the lighting gantry above their heads, waiting for that green flag, which waves now. A very, very strong start from Chris Down from third on the grid. Shows his nose up the inside into T1, laid on the brakes. That's an opportunity for Borges in the Bentley to go around the outside of all of them. So Chris Down makes one, loses one, and the big loser from this start of the race is the Porsche and the Aston Martin, blocked up behind the back of Chris Downs. But that is a great start. Graham, our race leader from second on the grid. Pearson in pole position, drops himself down the running order in the fifth, runs wide as well for good measure. Coming through the early part of the lap, he's under significant pressure now. Is Pearson from the Ferrari behind, but Aaron Pearson, a nightmare start from pole position, drops down to fifth position, and Tariq Gamil, one of the championship challengers for sure during the course of this season, is all over the back of him like a cheap suit. So this is going to be an intense opening few laps, few corners for all of these drivers. The tyres are cold, the cars are heavy, the circuit is at its least rubbing in that it will be at any stage during the course of this race. It's not a warm day here at Snetterton. It's track temperature 32 degrees, ambient of 25, so grip will be at a premium. And now we're looking once again at this quartet of drivers at the front of the field, pulling ever more away from the chasing packers. Chris Down now dives down the inside, down late on the brakes, using a little bit of the grass, can't get the car on the stoppers fast enough. The Bentley goes back up the inside. Chris Down, great opportunity, not quite enough to secure the position, but now that is a signal of intent in the clearest way possible. Chris Down, third position, fancies second, fancies a stab at Rory Graham ahead, and he will do everything in his power to find a way past that Bentley Continental GT3 of João Borges in second position. Chris Down, championship leader, not afraid to throw opportunities onto the track. Townsend has gone from having a good result to having a living nightmare, all in one fell swoop. And Chris Downs, somebody who's very keen to avoid falling into that trap, remains in third position, but closer than he has been for several laps now to the back of the Bentley Continental GT3. Chris Downs, the ACA ASP Team AMG Mercedes number 88, our championship second place man, desperately trying to find a way past the car of the two extra championship points that come with it. Tariq Gamil, our championship leader, in fourth position, metronomically closing the gap to these two drivers ahead of him. Gamil, one more lap, will be in striking distance. Chris Dow will be well aware of that. He will see the bright red Ferrari in his mirrors. And what's this? There we had our championship leader Tariq Gamil was behind, but he's jumped down pit road. So Gamil must have been the first of the stoppers in the mandatory pit window. Tariq Gamil, wisely actually I think, decides to serve his mandatory stop early, free himself up from that fight between Chris Down and Pearson, and Gonzalez now into that one as well. So Gamil, very, very first of the front runners down pit road. For Kete and Profales as well, use this opportunity from our front runners to get that early mandatory pit stop out of the way. It's a 10-minute pit window. You can see at the top of your screen, in the centre of the screen, pit window open, 8:54, 8 minutes and 52 seconds left for our drivers to go down there and serve their stop. Gamil comes back out on the racetrack. The timing stack says 16th, but you can never quite trust that in ACC, so we assume he's in 16th position. It also says 14th, so take your pick. Could be either of those two. I'm going with 16th, but he crucially has come out in traffic. So Rory Graham, our race leader, comes down pit road. Chris Down in third position makes the decision as well. So how these two, or where should I say, these two will rejoin the circuit in comparison to Tariq Gamil will be critical for the makeup of the remainder of this race. Chris Down off the jack, starting to crawl down towards the exit of pit lane. Where is our third place Ferrari, fourth place Ferrari? Quite a long way away in the very back of the shot. So that move worked out splendidly for Chris Down, worked out really well for Rory Graham, the race leader as well. And Tariq Gamil tries to perform the undercut, traffic, a poor outlap, getting slowed up by these cars that have yet to stop has cost Tariq Gamil dearly. Look here now, that is down, and that is Down fighting hard with Graham for track position. So Chris Down is liking this second set of tyres very much indeed. Thank you very much. He's fighting all over the back of Graham ahead. So we'll see how that one transfers. It looks like Pearson is fourth of the drivers that have made a stop. I don't know what happens with timing streams on here. It's all absolutely crazy. But let's have a look at what we can see on the circuit. That is Chris Down giving his all to try and find a way past our former race leader, Rory Graham. Graham, who will get back into race lead when Dahlgren and Lehman ahead of them serve their mandatory pit stop. So this is a fight for third on the track. But in reality, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the fight for our race lead. Chris Down is doing everything he can again to find his way past the Ferrari. Borges in the Bentley is not too far adrift in fifth on track, third in reality. And Tariq Gamil, the big loser from the pit stop sequence, has a car between himself and the Bentley and many seconds lost during this pit stop. This is Gamil now, sixth position on the circuit. Fourth will be when everybody serves their mandatory pit stop. And Tariq Gamil losing out big time in the AMG Mercedes as well. Looking now back to the live pictures, this is the fight for second position. Chris Down in the AMG Mercedes at the front of your picture is the man that's been in second place for the vast majority of this race, but seems to be lacking in speed as we head into the final quarter of the race. The Bentley Continental GT3 of Charles Borges in third place, a driver that we wondered if he would have enough speed in this big Bentley and be able to unlock it during the course of the event. Gamil will be hoping the squabble continues with these two cars and will close the door. This is riding on board now with Chris Down. So second position it's saying on the screen here. So as we know, Down goes to the inside, starts defending a little bit, contact from the big Bentley. That is a pooper scooper moment, if ever there is one, to see several thousand massive tons of British Bentley throwing themselves down the inside. Now we see Borges looking to the outside of Montreal, trying the different tacks, see if he can get a good run off of the airpin, which he can't quite manage on this occasion. But Downs is going backwards, not forwards. Look how loose the rear of that Mercedes is on corner exit. He recognises he got a slide, he goes to the inside defensive very, very early. Going to try to cut back in the Bentley, no doubt. Cuts the corner tie, doesn't get a good enough run on corner exit. The horses in the Merc are just about enough to keep him safe into the next significant braking zone. But the Bentley now has significantly more pace at this stage in the race than Chris Down in the AMG Mercedes does. Ahead, we've got a bike marker for good measure as well, trying to muddy the waters yet further, just ahead of the Mercedes. Down will be hoping he stays to the left-hand side. Blue flags wave. Yes, it does. Great driving from the back marker there. Keeps himself well out of the danger zone for these cars. But look how much more confident Borges in the Bentley is under braking, under turning, under acceleration than Chris Down is at this stage in the race. The Bentley looks like it's got seconds in its back pocket. Let's look at a replay now. Riding on board with the M Sport car, coming down into Richards, the first corner of the lap, a moderate braking zone, so nothing he can do there, but he gets the good run through the corner. He sacrifices entry to get corner exit. Down knows immediately he's under pressure into Montreal, keeps the car on the inside, runs it wide, tries to run just like in touring cars. The Bentley out of racetrack, and that is great and respectful driving from both drivers as they continue to fight tooth and nail for the second position. Down again on the defensive, coming in to the right-hander. The Bentley doing everything, climbing over the back, to the left, to the right, and even over the top of that Mercedes. This is going to be one of two things, folks, is my prediction. It's going to be a great overtaking manoeuvre or contact in the next 11 minutes and 55 seconds, because this level of hard and close racing cannot be sustained for any length of time without some kind of strife taking place. And the Bentley really desperately wants this position. He can smell the additional points that will come his way for second place. Now Down on the defensive immediately into every opportunity, covering the inside line, getting the car stopped on the apex, giving no Bentley-sized gaps to the left or to the right, concentrating on getting the best run possible on the long straights. This is where he knows he's vulnerable. A corner followed by a long straight, the slipstream effect as well, is where the Mercedes AMG of Tristown is the most vulnerable. But while he's defending the inside line, that is allowing Tariq Gamil to creep ever closer. Still 3 seconds in arrears is the Gamil Ferrari, so not making up the times quickly as he needs to be at this stage of the race. As now down goes very, very deep into the penultimate corner, hard on the brakes, into Murray's, the final turn for the run up to the start-finish line. Luckily, he gets a good enough corner exit to keep the Bentley at bay coming into T1. But these two drivers are performing absolutely fantastically to race so hard and so close together. Borges, third position, down in second place, tooth and nail, separated by absolutely nothing are the two GT3 cars. Tariq Gamil, half a second closed on that last lap. Not quite enough at the moment because Gamil needs to get up to the back of these cars. Then he needs to find a way past as well. But he'll be hoping they're concentrating on each other just enough. The red Ferrari can inauspiciously find a way to get up behind them unnoticed and pounce when the opportunity is right. But the Bentley's glued to the back of the AMG, goes defensive again, does down, runs a little bit deeper, going to a replay, which is a shame at the moment. The fight is intense. This is T1. But looking back from Chris Down, gets a poor run. That shows how little grip he's got into the opening turn. And the Bentley really very, very fast for the run down into Montreal. And these two, this is a fight that's going to continue, rubbing paintwork amongst each other, as now down on the inside, goes a little bit deep into the first part of the left-hander, goes very, very deep into the second part. Borges, open door, walks straight through it. Chris Down succumbed to the pressure, exactly what the M Sport Bentley tried to apply to Chris Down. He runs a little bit deep, that opens the door, so Borges now into second place, down into third position, and Tariq Gamil all over the back of the AMG. So the championship positions 2 and 1 are 3 and 4 on the circuit at this moment in time. So there's a fight for position and a fight for the lead of the championship as well. Down now can start concentrating on closing that gap back to second position. We see a little bit of traffic, inopportune moment for that Mercedes actually to be bulking the Bentley ahead of him. So the black Mercedes that you see to the right of your screen is a black market, is about to go a lap down. Does he recognise Chris Down as a race leader? Yes, he does, although he doesn't make it easy in the braking into Richards. But Down now has very, very quickly recovered his composure and started to close that gap to the Bentley back again. So Down hasn't given up on this second position, as Rory Graham has been spectacular in the Ferrari as he runs up to the line to start his final lap. Oh, it's the checkered flag. Rory Graham is the winner of the second round of the RD GTC Season 10, powered by AK Informatica. Borges in the Bentley, a hard-earned second place with Chris Down eventually crossing the line. In the Mercedes in third, Tariq Gamil, a Elswill Championship leader, crosses the line in eventual fourth. This has been an absolutely incredible race, an incredible championship so far. We'll do it all again this time next week when we head to the third race of the season. Tariq Gamil just goes quickest, that other joint championship leader. So new conditions, same names up front of the field.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. When we saw the free practice, it was wet in the free practice as well, and they were doing 2-minute sixes in the free practice. So you could see that even if the track's wet, it's different varying levels of wet.
This man that we're looking at now, Chris Down, our joint championship leader on 77 points, alongside Tariq Gamil in the Ferrari. Chris, as we've watched him, has dropped 3 places in the running order. He's about to come across the line in a few moments' time. So let's see. Yes, he can. Chris Down's provisional pole position of 2 minutes, 12.219, exactly what Chris Down needed to achieve in the Acura ASP AMG Mercedes. Provisional pole position, 30 seconds left on the clock. Tariq Gamil out on the track, so he can respond if he puts this lap time together. But Ramos, our earlier pole sitter in pit lane, so the best he can hope for today is third on the grid in the front of the second row. Gonzalez throws it on to the front row of the grid, and suddenly Tariq Gamil's afternoon has got a whole lot more difficult.
Yes, Chris Down doing an absolute stellar job there, because Gonzalez being only 0.03 back, that is very close for the top two on the grid. Obviously, Chris Down being in pole position and Gonzalez being right next to him when we come around through this rolling start lap.
This is Chris Down in the ACC 88 AMG Evo, and I will be taking you for a wet lap around Silverstone. First of all, got to get a really good run out of Luffield through Woodcut. It's a really long straight here up to Copse, so you got to make sure to get the maximum run. You can take a little bit of the curb here on the left. I actually take a little bit too much. It does help the car rotate, same for the inside curb, but don't take too much or the car will spin really easily in the wet. Now it's coming up to Maggots and Baggots Complex. Here again, you want to be a little bit cautious on the curbs. You can take it a bit going in, but don't brake on it or you will spin. Here you could go down to second gear, but it really depends on how the car's rotating. Here I felt it was fine, so I kept it in third. And now we're on the Hangar Straight, going up to Stowe, slowly using our way over to the left. Stowe, you really want to brake it a little bit earlier than you would in the dry. Ease it in a little bit, maybe go into second if you're having problems with rotation. Again, the car felt fine, car felt really good on this lap. You can use a little bit of the curb on the exit, but be careful depending on what your differential setting is, and brake for the entry into Vale, which leads into Club. Very, very tight corner. You can easily get it wrong. Avoid the sausage curb on the entry. You can use the curb a little bit to ease the car to rotate. Same here, you can use the curb a little bit. I think I miss it a little bit, so I get some understeer, and then a little bit of oversteer when I have my right wheel go onto the curb. Tricky corner to get right even in the dry, but it would just be a lift usually in the dry. Here, I take a little bit tighter line than I usually would, a little bit slower because of the traffic on the left. The car is actually spun ahead of us, so it didn't cost us too much time, but yeah, definitely made me be a little bit more cautious. Definitely can feel the car is under-rotating a little bit, so I decided to take first for this corner, I think. Yep. And now blast it out all the way into Aintree for the Wellington straight. You can use a little bit of the curb on the left to try and rotate the car. Not too bad there, pretty good, maybe a little bit of over-rotation, but it definitely helps combat the understeer in the rain. This was really heavy, so that helped a lot. Now braking for Brooklands, ease the car in under the brake. You can trail brake in a little bit, but don't do it too much or you'll definitely spin. And here, very tricky one, even in the dry. Getting the right line is essential, but it's not always obvious. Here, the line, for me, felt go out a little bit from the apex. And that is a lap of Silverstone in the soaking wet.
After 3 races of the Race Department GT Series, Tariq Gamil and Chris Down share the championship lead that we mentioned earlier on. These are our first and third place drivers on the grid today. Aaron Pearson, a little bit quiet this weekend in the AMG V8 Vantage Aston Martin in third place. Fiquete in P4, another driver that's been very, very impressive in the Porsche. 70 points, so only 7 away from the championship lead, and tying that 4th position with Scotland's Rory Graham in the Ferrari 488 GT3.
You'll notice that the Porsche of Fiquete is down into 13th place. Whether Silverstone isn't the strongest track for him, or whether it's just the Porsche being not too great in a wet, but you'll see that a lot of the front-engined rear-wheel drive cars are right at the front.
And the start of the race the lights have gone green. We've got Chris Down from pole position, takes an early race lead through the opening corner. Gonzalez in the bright green Dayglow Aston Martin slots in a second position. Tariq Gamil avoids the danger that we predicted during qualification to stay a comfortable 3rd position. Marquez and Ramos jumping in a bit further back. Rory Graham that we're seeing there getting a little bit out of shape through the Maggots-Beckett's complex, but Graham manages to keep the car pointing in the right direction, really clean throughout the field in these opening few corners of the 3rd round of the RDG TC Championship. Great driving despite the inclement weather conditions that our drivers face, and Chris Down does exactly what he wanted to do at the start of this race. runs away with it at the lead. Gonzalez retains second, and his championship rival, Tariq Gamil, in third position. But a great start so far. And at this moment in time, Terry, this is where the best opportunity for our drivers to start making big inroads to the car ahead exists, isn't it?
Yes, that is exactly it. They're going to be looking to try and put the foot down. Obviously, they're still not on the optimum tyre range, so they're still going to have to do a little few more laps until they get into them operating temperatures that they're going to be looking for. So you might see a little bit of hesitance going throughout this lap, but I think that every single driver will be pushing, as we see Gonzalez right on the back of Chris Down right now. He is looking to make a move, maybe in the next few corners, maybe trying to line himself up for the Wellington Straight that's coming up straight after Aintree that we're on right now. Once we get on the start Wellington Straight and getting into the braking zone, going into Brooklands, Gonzalez, though, dropping back, coming out of the Aintree corner, and he will not be able to make that move. But Gamil's now lining it up as we come into Brooklands. Going out of Brooklands, we're going to go into Luffield soon, aren't we, Paul?
We are indeed, and this is a tactic, not a tactic, but a style that I think we've seen quite a bit of this season, in that Down is a reasonably conservative driver. He gives time for himself and the car to get into the zone it needs to be before he starts seeing those really fast laps, and that caught Gonzalez out a little bit, I think. I think he caught up a little bit faster than he expected to Chris Down, and Tariq Gamil, ever the tactician.
I think it's going to be an interesting decision based on the weather, because obviously right now the track's wet. You're going to be still on wet tyres when you come in, so you're probably not going to be looking to really change them tyres really early. And
sorry to interrupt you a second there, Terry, but Gonzalez is all over the back. And Chris Down goes to the outside, tries to find what will become the inside line for the next corner. Chris Down takes the wide route, tries to be late on the brakes. Gonzalez, advantage Gonzalez, a little bit of contact between the two. That opens the door for Tariq Gamil as well. So Gonzalez is our race leader. Tariq Gamil, Chris Down, championship joint leaders, side by side for the run down into the left-hander. Tariq Gamil on the inside, Chris Down on the outside. Who is going to be the last of the late breakers? Gamil hard on the brakes of the black Ferrari. Down recognises that the car is there, gives him racing room, and Chris Down has gone from race leader to third position in the space of two corners, and Tariq Gamil, our joint championship leader, overtakes Chris Down, the equal joint championship leader, and the bright green Aston Martin is thinking, I have no idea what happened, but I'm going to take it, thank you very much. And this is exactly what Tariq Gamil is really good at, watching the behaviour of the cars ahead of him, keeping the watching brief, not getting involved too early, just seeing how this pans out. It predicts that these two are going to get a little bit aggressive. It's exactly what they do. Gonzalez runs very deep, actually, into the left-hander, so maybe Gonzalez was a little bit too optimistic on his car placement and his speed of corner entry, but Gamil, that's a champion's drive, is not getting in the mix when you don't need to, just keeping it smart, keeping it sensible, and boom, the upshot is he's now in second position and with a very, very good opportunity. Tariq Gamil at this stage in the race, he seems to have the desire and the pace to find a way past, but just not enough of a gap alongside that Aston. And Tariq Gamil, with 2 minutes left on the clock, he'll be aware that Chris Down has dropped into fourth position. He'll be aware that this is a couple of points for his championship as Gonzalez runs very, very deep off the racetrack. Gamil does not feel inclined to give him any racetrack to return back onto the circuit, and Tariq Gamil takes an early race lead. Tariq Gamil with 1 minute 40 seconds left on the clock is our new race leader. Gonzalez will be kicking himself in the cockpit of that Aston Martin as they run down the Wellington Straight now into Brooklands. Tariq Gamil, in memory for Murray Walker, 412 Ferrari 488 GT3, after what has been a race-long fight at the front of the field. Pressures Gonzalez, Francisco Gonzalez, into a mistake, takes immediate advantage, and Gonzalez is running down pit lane. I don't know what's happening here, but Francisco Gonzalez is jumping down pit road from second position. Sensational Gonzalez, maybe a late splash and dash, made a mistake on his fuel consumption, and Gonzalez from second place is down pit road. Aaron Pearson will be in third. Chris Down will move up onto the podium as well. Sensational stuff in the final minutes of what has been an incredible race. And Tariq Gamil, our joint championship leader, is now the race leader and the race winner of the third round of the RDG TC powered by AK Informatica. Aaron Pearson unbelievably crosses the line in second position for Aston Martin after a great drive. Chris Down recovers to third position at the checkered flag for Mercedes-Benz. Wagner Marquez P4 in the number 93. Aston Martin will be very satisfied with his performance today. Francisco Gonzalez, arguably the driver of the day, comes home disappointed, but should be rightfully proud. Fifth position in the race for Cat Aston Martin, having led the race right to the very end. Fekete on the final lap, getting involved in a little bit of strife, goes dirt tracking but recovers the car over the line for 8th position, just behind Miguel Ramos in 7th, and Frank Van Overen managing to sneak a 6th at the checkered flag. And Terry, I need to breathe for a minute because that was like 5 minutes of bonkers.
Yeah, that last lap, it got a little bit scrappy. You can see that, but what a race it was! What a final lap that was.
Final thoughts on this race, and sum up how you're looking forward to the championship finale.
Well, to take this championship finale is going to be a large task. I think it's going to be a large task, and I can't wait to see how these drivers manage to cope going around the Spa-Francorchamps track. It's not going to be as wet, I don't reckon, as it was at Silverstone. I mean, it's Belgian weather. I mean, you can flip a coin to find out how wet it's going to be. But one man we're going to be looking to keep an eye on throughout this championship race is Chris Down. Chris Down currently sat in second in the points with 115 points, 2 points behind Tariq Gamil. And the question is Chris Down going to be able to hold on to this AMG? The AMG should be strong here. He does have that front-rear balance, and if it stays wet as we go into the race, Chris Down will be looking to just try and marry them points together and get himself up into first in the championship. Tariq Gamil currently sat in 4th place in the 412 Ferrari, and Tariq Gamil starting his flying lap puts in a 2:26.535 last lap though, and Miguel Ramos goes across the line and he goes up into 4th place, knocking Chris Down, 2nd place in the championship right now, down into 5th. But let's just have a little recap of the top 15 in the championship, and you can see them points on your screen at the moment. Tariq Gamil sat in 1st place with 117 points on board that Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo car. Chris Down is then in 2nd with 115 points, only 2 points separate him and Tariq right now in the Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. Aaron Pearson in the AMR V8 Vantage with 112 points in 3rd place. We are about to get this rolling start underway. Francisco Gonzalez is going to be leading the charge in pole position. Aaron Pearson not too far behind. Rory Graham in 3rd place. You can see him in that Ferrari on the right-hand side there. Miguel Ramos in the number 52 AF Corsa Ferrari in 4th place on the 2nd row of the grid. Now then, let's get this race underway and just see how well they do going up through Oru and going up through Radion. The green flag is waved and we are underway for the 2-hour race here at the RDGT Season 10 Championship powered by AK Informatica. And there's already been a big contact right at the top of Radion, and that is a lot of cars going sideways. That is going to be absolutely devastating for a lot of drivers, but Rory Graham getting a great run away. So does Francisco Gonzalez. Francisco Gonzalez really has pushed his way at the front there. Rory Graham in 2nd place has Chris Down, who is currently 2nd in the championship, closing down onto Rory Graham, and the wet has really shaken things up. It's really shaken things up as we went through the top of Radion there. And a big collision. I'm sure we will get a replay of that to see just what happened. But Chris Down is now currently sat in third place. He's going to be very, very happy to get away from that big collision that happened right at the start of the race. And let's just have a little look at that start. So we have Rory Graham here in the number 64 Ferrari. And he's closing it down on to Aaron Pearson, just going too wide with, I think that's Aaron Pearson, yeah. Just spins around Aaron Pearson, and obviously Aaron Pearson doesn't really have much to do there. So that's what's happened there. Francisco Gonzalez, who started in qualifying, managed to get himself up into pole position and has been there ever since. Has Francisco Gonzalez. Brilliant driving from him. Rory Graham in second place in that Ferrari 64. But Chris Down starting to close down the gap onto him. Rory Graham won round 2 at Snetterton, but hasn't been in the top 3 since then. Rory Graham will be looking to keep hold of his current second place position and maybe be able to close down onto Francisco Gonzalez. But Chris Down is looking to put a quick stop to that. We saw Chris Down go a little bit slidey coming through Brussels a couple of laps ago, but Chris Down looks like he's managed to get that car planted in the ACC ASP team number 88 car there, and he is now closing it down back onto the back of Rory Graham. See him taking a little bit of curb there. That's very, very risky. Rory Graham does pick up a 15-second penalty there. So it looks like it was the 64 car that was under investigation that has picked up that. Yes, it was the 64 car and the number 29 car that has been decided to have caused the start of the race incident. So Rory Graham getting the 15-second penalty for that. 0.5 seconds back now, Tariq Gamil, as he closes down to the back of Chris Down. And we are about to see a big fight for the championship here. Chris Down having a little bit of an issue with oversteer on that AMG. You can just see that car wiggling about all over the place as he comes through Stavlot. Is that Ferrari 412 a little bit more planted? The Scuderia Cavallino Rampante car. That is a mouthful to say, but Chris Down going wide again out the back of Blanchemont. Looks like that AMG having a little bit of a trouble turning in, and a little bit of a trouble just getting out the corners as well. Let's see if his back end kicks out this time. No, nice and smooth coming out of turn 20 onto the start finish straight though. Goes across the line there, and it was a 230.207, 228.9 his fastest lap. So 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap was Chris Down that lap. And with Tariq Gamil pressuring his rear end right now, Chris Down is just looking to keep his nose clean and ahead of Gamil. Running that curb is very risky coming up Oru and Radium, but Tariq Gamil managing to get that, Chris Down managing to get that nice and smooth up through there. Tariq Gamil in the 412 car, you can almost see him in the background there. Has a little bit of front end damage. I wonder if that'll affect his ability to put in fast laps here. I haven't seen any evidence of the damage causing any slowdown to Tariq Gamil's pace though. He's currently lapping around about 0.3 seconds slower than his fastest lap, but that's obviously more or less in the right margins. And back to Chris Down as Gamil closes down the gap. He is literally, you could put a tow rope between these two cars, and I reckon Gamil doesn't want that. He wants to just get the tow from the aero instead and be able to slot it past as we go into La Source here for the 16th time. Chris Down running it a little bit wide here. Gamil, this is going to be his best chance, running it too wide as we go down through the start finish straight of what would be Formula 1. But Chris Down running ahead still as we go up through Radion over the top and onto the Kemmel straight. And wow, too wide up down through what is turn 2 here at this GT3. race. And what a battle that was. I think we're going to see that for a few laps more, though. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Chris Down in this AMG has been defending well on Gamil. And we see Rory Graham come in for a pit. That's interesting. Goes out and then back in. Tariq Gamil can't manage to slot it past, though. Chris Down clipping both apexes there. Doesn't want to let Gamil manage to slot it past on either of them. You can see Chris Down just trying to squeeze Gamil towards the outside line there. Will he be able to get a fast exit out of here? No, he doesn't, and he defends the inside line here, allowing for Gamil to just slot himself behind and take the toe up through Radion here. And you can see Gamil in the toe of Chris Down, just getting a little bit shaky coming up through Radion, because that aero isn't working as hard as it would be if he had to punch his way through the air coming up through Radion. So a little bit twitchy going up through Radion, managing to keep hold of that car though, and you can see he's managed to close down the gap. So Gonzalez, who is currently in third place, has come in and is coming in to serve his pit by the looks of it, dropping back into third. Did start the race in pole position, managed to get a nice little clean run ahead of the incident that happened behind. But yeah, Gonzalez dropping down into fifth in the pits. Moses also in the pits, and so is the 991 car of Focarelli. Tariq Gamil up into second then, because these two drivers still have to serve their pits. You can see in the top right hand side of your screen, the track is wet out there, 31 degrees, but Tariq Gamil looking for a move on the inside there. Oh, that was nearly very, very close there. Coming out through campus now onto Stavlot. We've seen Gamil try to make it move around the outside there. We've seen him try to make a move around the inside, but he's now on the dry line, sat right behind Chris Down, and he is hankering to try and get past Chris Down here. Tariq Gamil wants another win, and this will be an extra step on that podium by the time everyone comes out of their pits. The two leaders coming into the pits, you can see that being notified in the top of your screen. So the two leaders coming into the pits, and Nortenboom and Fichetti are battling in the background as they come up through Blanchemont. Very, very long pits here at Spa. It takes around about 80 seconds to even drive from one end to the other, and that's without doing a pit stop. Chris Down coming out of the pits. Does he come out ahead of Tariq Gamil? Yes, he does, because remember, Tariq Gamil followed him all the way in. He was literally bumper to bumper with Chris Down, but right now he's come out, and we'll find out when he comes down and through the Kemmel straight into the second timing whether Chris Down and Tariq Gamil are going to be any closer as they come across that timing gate. But Francisco Gonzalez back up into first place, technically, where he would be after all of the pits. We still have the top three to pit, so Francisco Gonzalez after all of the pits up into first place. You can see Chris Down 6 seconds back. There is Francisco Gonzalez leading the race from the qualifying, basically, because he picked up pole positions. Turns 7, 8, and 9 out the back, and Chris Down is really closing down the position right now. 0.9 seconds back, and this is where he had a little bit of an incident earlier in the race. Looks like he's tidied that up and managed to get that nice and cemented that AMG, the ACC ASP team, the number 88 car. As he comes down through Speaker's Corner there, will he be able to close down the gap down into P1, the 12th corner on the track? And it'd be interesting to see just what it looks like from Chris Down's perspective as he closes down on to the back of Francisco Gonzalez. See just how much he has to fight in the rain here. You can see those wipers working wonders. Well, that was a tongue twister and a half. Those wipers working wonders as we come into Stavlot, and you can see that wheel is going about everywhere. It's very, very wet here on Spa-Francorchamps, and you can just see it is very, very, very wet. Chris Down having a battle with that car all the way up through Stavlok. We saw him getting a little bit slidey at the back a few laps ago, but Chris Down looks like he's managed to cement that car a little bit, and he's now closing down the gap onto the back of Francisco Gonzalez. As we go up and through, Francisco Gonzalez deciding he does want to go take a pit. Chris Down staying out though, and considering a lap is around about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, Chris Down won't be serving another pit here. Chris Down currently sat in first place as we come through Brussels. Hasn't served his 2 mandatory pits in that pit window, so he's going by the pit windows that would have been scheduled. And the next one will open in around about 15 seconds based on if you split this race into 3. So 45 minutes left in the race is when it would open, and 35 minutes is when it would close. Chris Down getting a little bit too much curb there. I think he had that under control. I think he meant to do that. That's not the first time we've seen him go wide there. But Chris Down has done a spectacular race so far. Tariq Gamil dropping down into 4th. He served one of his pits in the pit window that opened halfway throughout the race. So Chris Down, as I said earlier, coming into the pits. And we're going to see where Francisco Gonzalez comes in. So I said if we were going by the three sections of the track, 35 would be where your pit window would be. So Chris Down coming in that pit window, and here's Francisco Gonzalez for the race for Cat Car in 2nd place. Yeah, that is right. Francisco Gonzalez coming into Blanchemont here, and into the start of the bus stop chicane out the back, closing down on to the back of Ryan, who's just ahead in the number 60 car. The back marker being the McLaren, who is just ahead. And that is the number 60 car of Aiko Ryan, who Francisco's making a nice little pass on the inside of, going down the start-finish straight of what would be the F1, up through Radion and Aru, across the top, and Francisco Gonzalez does not get ahead of Chris Down. Chris Down is coming down through the Kemmel straight into the right-hander of Lecumbe, through turns 7, 8, and 9, and Chris Down satisfying the mandatory pit if we were going through for the free section of the race, and Francisco Gonzalez 4.7 seconds back. So this is a very similar situation from where Chris Down was behind Francisco Gonzalez after satisfying his pits. So Francisco Gonzalez looking to close down the back of Chris Down, where we saw Chris Down closing down the back of Francisco Gonzalez. As we see Chris Down here, this is going to be that incident that happened going into La Source with the back marker. Chris Down getting late on the brakes here, just sending it up the inside, and a little bit of tap on Ian Watkins just sends him a little bit sideways, but I don't think it spins him round. So not a big incident on Ian Watkins, just a little bit of a rub. But it'd be interesting to see if Chris Down picked up any damage from that low speed collision. Getting a little bit too far wide coming out the back of La Source there. That's not going to be the greatest second time going round La Source there. Chris Down going to be allowing for Francisco Gonzalez to close down the gap here as we come up through Radion. Over the top, down through the Kemmel straight. The very, very long straight here at Spa-Francorchamps. And then we're going to be into the right-hander of Lecumbe through turns 7, 8, and 9. You can just see just how fast Francisco Gonzalez is getting the second tow on the second lap. He got a tow from Ian Watkins earlier on the last lap. Now he's got a tow from Chris Down all the way down the Kemmel straight. And Chris Down running a lot of curves here in the wet. You don't usually see this, but Chris Down must be able to handle that car on the curbs as we come down through Brussels. And Francisco Gonzalez 0.6 seconds back from Chris Down right now into the left-hander of Speaker's Corner. And then we're going to be heading down towards the 12th corner on the track. Puan into that left-hander here, that very fast left-hander. Very, very hard on the aerodynamics of the car here. Chris Down still managed to keep himself ahead of Francisco Gonzalez. You can saw him just spray up a lot of water to the back of Francisco Gonzalez there. And Francisco Gonzalez's wipers will be working furiously to get rid of that water right now, to allow for Francisco Gonzalez to just see what he is hunting down, his prey of Chris Down. There you go. There is the wiper of Francisco Gonzalez. And I've just remembered that Aston Martin only has one wiper, so there you go. It's not wipers, it is wiper on board that car. Working furiously to wipe away the rain as he looks to make a move onto the back of Chris Down. And these two, we've seen them fight time and time again. We saw it in Donington. We're now seeing it in Spa. And Francisco Gonzalez looking to close down the gap back to Chris Down. Chris Down looking to get a nice tidy line through La Sorcia. Decides he doesn't want to run wide onto that curb. Pujon. Chris Down running it wide though. Gets back on track. And Gonzalez going to decide to try and take a late break in on the outside there. Doesn't manage to slow it up the outside. And he is right on the back of Chris Down now, as we can see in this beautiful view of the spoiler of Chris Down. Gonzalez fighting to get right to the back of the Merc here as we go through turn 16 out the back of Stavlot up into Blanchemont, turn 17. We've seen a lot of cars go off here due to taking that outside line. And no offs here. Beautiful to see. Francisco Gonzalez will be running it right alongside the back of Chris Down. Oh, and in fact, he's going to give him a little bit of that luminous yellow paint onto the side of Chris Down as we come through that chicane. Too wide throughout it. Now into La Source we go. Through out of the wet, and Chris Down going wide. Gonzalez going on the inside on the exit, quick on the accelerator, managed to slot himself up into first place. That was a much cleaner pass than the one we nearly saw into the chicane, rather. Up through the bus stop chicane. Through Radion we go and on to the Kemmel Straight, and Gonzalez is now back leading the race. Francisco Gonzalez starting in first position, back up into first position after an hour and 40 minutes. Gonzalez manages to reclaim that first position. Chris Down's not going to let it go easily though in this ACA ASP team, because he's just lost out on the 1 point that would keep him separated, or keep him drawed with Tariq Gamil. So Chris Down needs to get himself back into first position, because Tassanoi, currently in fourth, is 18 seconds back from Tariq Gamil. Chris Down 1.4 seconds back from Francisco Gonzalez though. Chris Down found a little bit of time, putting in his fastest lap of the race there, 2:27.339. So Chris Down getting his foot down and will be closing it down to Gonzalez. Oh, that's a lot of downs in a sentence, isn't it? I didn't mean for that to happen, I promise. But Francisco Gonzalez, you can see him right there, just coming up through Radion right now, taking that curb. There is Chris Down right behind him. And across the Kemmel Straight we go. Will Chris Down be able to close down the gap? Isn't going to follow the toe of the inside line of Gonzalez. That's not usually the line that that Gonzalez takes. I think he was trying to break Chris Down's toe there. Didn't want to drive on the dry line unless he's trying to just try and get some of the heat out of his tyres by driving on the wet line. Now, obviously driving the wet tyres, 31 PSI is what you're going to be aiming for. So Francisco Gonzalez, your race winner here at the round 4 and the final round of the RDGT Season 10 Championship. Tariq Gamil coming in third place, and Chris Down is finished and picked up the checkered flag in second place. Tariq Gamil crossing the line there in third place, and there's Jeffrey Tassanoi taking 4th place. Great driving from him. Tariq Gamil, if we take these standings, has actually won the championship. Tariq Gamil is your championship winner, with Francisco Gonzalez picking up the final round here at Spa-Francorchamps. Wow, what a race that was. I hope you all enjoyed that race as much as I did.